Welcome to our preliminary travels of Bonners Ferry Goes to New Orleans. I'm Andrew Hinderly, pastor of Trinity Lutheran Church in Bonners Ferry, Idaho. And as a suggestion from some folks, the idea that maybe we could bring a little bit of lighthearted conversation, humor, poetry, music, stories, conversation with those around us. We're going to hope that y'all will enjoy it and want to be part of it. But in the meantime, I'm up here in Bonners Ferry, which is about 35 miles south of the Canadian border. And it's good to be with y'all. If you're watching us on this video recording, we came into this. Here he comes now. Hello there, Peter. Welcome, Peter Holley. Can you hear? Did you join with audio? There you go. It says you're joined with audio.
Okay, now I'm good.
There you go. You're good now, man. I was just telling folks that welcoming people who might watch this, and
yeah,
I'm
trying to get this glare off of the back of my screen. It's a little bit of a glare still, but not so bad.
Not so bad. Now, so Peter, you know, just as an aside, we could do this live if you wanted to at 5:30, but you might want to have other plans. I don't want to hold them up. But I did
we'll do one or the other. It depends on what you want to do.
Okay, well, we can talk about this now, and if we like it, we'll put it up. If we don't, we'll set up a live one on, because it'll bring it. We can connect it to Facebook, and it'll bring it to the Zoom meeting. So that works just as well.
Okay. All right.
So
that all sounds interesting.
It always sounds interesting, doesn't it? So yeah.
You can now refer to me as Professor. You can now. Well, that's a very strange color of my camera.
That is a very strange. It's very Mardi Gras. It's kind of got that nice afternoon glow, kind of a feel of laid back.
You know, the sun sets in New Orleans every evening at 5 o'clock when cocktails come out. You know, I'm afraid that's what happens.
You get rose-colored glasses, only the rose-colored eyes.
Well, that's so true. That is so true, you know, for as long as it lasts. And then after that, you get a little foggy, you know, but right now, early on. So it's not me on this end, it's you on your end that's seeing all the rose colors, you know, so I'm happy for you. You've decided to let the good times roll, like we say down here in New Orleans.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to do that. I mean, you got to have good times rolling, I think. Well, you know, one of the things I thought we can talk about, and maybe we should just do this as preliminary and then go ahead and do it live at 5:30. But what are your plans now tonight? What are you doing? Are you guys planning to go out to dinner?
Well, let's see. No, I really would like to go to Moscas, and I want to take Diane to Moscas. And Moscas is, as you know, I think you might remember, is the little Italian spaghetti joint on the West Bank.
Yep.
Right. And, you know, it's been around for 50 or 60 years, if I'm not mistaken. My grandfather used to take the whole family out there, his wife, his two daughters and their families, Rita and Rose and their families. So that usually put a table of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people at the table. Sometimes one of a girlfriend of his might show up as well. But so, so Moscas is still up and running. The son of the original owner is running the restaurant now. I think the owner's wife is still cooking. Wow. And so it's quite wonderful. They make their pasta fresh every day, and they have a couple of famous recipes, including oysters Mosca, which is a baked oysters dish with a lot of Parmesan cheese, and then another one is called chicken a la grande, which is this dry stewed chicken that just falls off the bone, and it's just smothered in garlic. So you know, you got to be prepared for some heavy flavors, but it's a wonderful restaurant, and it's a screaming bargain. It's cash only. It's always been cash only. out on the West Bank. I'd like to go there and maybe be able to tune in to one of these meetings on my phone,
Yeah,
if at all
yeah.
possible.
That would be a great idea, actually. And actually with Facebook or with Zoom you can do on the phone easy enough, better than you can do some of the stuff, and still and so anyone who might want to come in from Facebook could catch us on Zoom on their phone, catch you on Zoom on your phone, because they'll transfer from Facebook to Zoom when they watch it. But yeah, I remember Moscow when my brother Paul came down, when I moved to Nolens, my brother Paul and his wife, my sister-in-law Carol, and their girls we went out to Moscow's. And Moscow's is where my brother found the recipe for his restaurant he loved, which was the chicken and garlic, and just smothered
Yes.
in garlic, roast chicken and garlic. And that it's one of his favorite places to go to as well. So yeah, it'd be kind of fun to have a little bit of on the spot kind of a restaurant review or a restaurant share with us.
I think the folks up in Honors Ferry would really enjoy that.
I think so too. I would think that'd be a great experience. Well, the thing that I was thinking about just as briefly, because we're going to keep these short, at least initially, right? We talked about 15 minutes, maybe at least initially, and then see where it goes. If there are people that are coming on, we can be a little longer. But one of the things that I think is, we talk about stories and conversations and humor and kind of things that people have that kind of lighten and brighten their day. And so I want you to tell that story of how you and I met, because I think that's one of the funniest stories. I mean, Barbara would share it, but she's gone to pick up Christian, so she's not gonna be here for that, and she may not be available. I think she's got class at 5:30 anyway. So if we do it again, it's gonna happen. But tell that story. I mean, because it's such. I mean, talk about, a God incident. I don't know what else could be called.
It was certainly serendipity, and it was an impossible chance that still happened, right?
Yep.
And so I'd taken my first assignment with the Department of State in Madagascar, of all places in the world. You couldn't get, I think the only place you can get further away could be either Fiji or maybe Mongolia. Those might be two other locations that can be just as bizarrely distant as Madagascar. And so I'd only been there a couple of days at best, and I was in my car going to the American Embassy, which is in the downtown part of the city. And I guess it was probably in the late afternoon or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not really sure. And out of my passenger window, right-hand side window, I saw like a small Suburban or some vehicle like that, with a window sticker that had what? Le Bon Temps Roulé?
No, it was Christ the King Lutheran Church, Kenner, Louisiana.
Kenner, Louisiana. So that's what caught my attention.
Yeah.
I was going to have to ask you what the bumper, what the window sticker said.
Yeah.
And it said Louisiana. And so, I just couldn't help myself and started yelling out the window and waving to the driver, which was Barbara, right?
Right. And she ignored you. She was like trying to, who is this wacko? What's he doing? And she was like, and then
she was.
And then what'd you do?
Yeah, the persistence and the big grin and the big smile, I think finally won her over, that she rolled down her window, finally won her over. And then I was able to holler out to her, well, I'm from New Orleans too. I'm from Louisiana too. Yeah. And that's how we met. And to begin with, I'm not sure exactly what the exchange of information was as we were driving on these ridiculously busy roads, and how we further got along after that. Maybe you can tell a little bit about that, but that was just outrageous that I saw somebody from Louisiana in Madagascar within the first couple of days.
Yeah, and you stuck your calling card through it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I had my business card at that point.
Yeah, and she wasn't sure about you, but then she contacted me because I was out of the country, and she said, "Hey, there's a guy from Louisiana here. He's right at the embassy," and it was like, and after that, it was just kismet. Everything worked out. It was wonderful. It was, it was a start. As they said in Casablanca, it was the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Yeah.
It really was.
A calling card from the Department of State can either make you completely trust the person on the other end, or it can make you completely wary of the person on the other end.
There is that too.
Having met me and knowing what my profession was as a nurse practitioner, you knew that that I was probably a pretty safe bet.
We weren't worried too much anyway. I mean, but it was, with all the experiences we had, and one of them was based around Mardi Gras. We talked, one of the things that you and I talked about that I was thinking about, we did not celebrate Mardi Gras the way would have celebrated up here in the past. And I regret that we didn't do something. But the other day I bought a king cake and brought it to church on Sunday for the volunteers who are helping with worship. And so I got a couple things I want to show you, and you can just explain briefly why. So there's this little plastic baby. It's about the size of a mouse.
Yes.
We put this on it. And of course, these beads. Can you just explain briefly the baby, the mask, and the beads?
Well, the baby is without a doubt related to the preparation and the slow discovery of the Christ child. But in this case, it falls right after, the period of Mardi Gras begins right after Christmas, right after the Christmas season ends. The Mardi Gras season begins. We don't actually celebrate Mardi Gras Day or Fat Tuesday until anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks after Mardi Gras season starts. But baby certainly can represent the Christ child coming to you following Christmas time. But more than that, when people gather around and enjoy the king cake, that person who gets the cut, and that baby is buried inside that king cake. It's baked in the king cake, or it's embedded in the king cake from underneath so that nobody knows where that baby is. And you cut that king cake up in slices, and the person who gets that king cake is obligated to bring the king cake for the following week. So usually it's on a weekly basis through Mardi Gras season until Mardi Gras ends. And if you get started early, you can get lots of king cakes that season, 4 to 5 or 6 king cakes before Mardi Gras ends. And so that's kind of the fun of the king cake. And that's what the point of the baby is. Mardi Gras is a day of sort of indulgence. It's Fat Tuesday. And that's our day. That's traditionally a day where people really celebrate. They may drink, they certainly eat, and they go enjoy all the parades and festivities out on the streets. And part of that is a masked parade. All the crews or groups that parade through the street, whether they're on horses, whether they're in marching bands, whether they're on these what we call floats, where people are throwing trinkets like Mardi Gras beads to the crowds on the street. Most everybody is masked in those crews. A lot of people who go down into the French Quarter of New Orleans for Mardi Gras to enjoy the streets and the hustle and bustle of the crowds will also wear masks. A number of people will wear masks throughout the city that day. And it's very traditional through the weekend, especially on Tuesday, that people will put on a mask. And that allows you a little bit more self-freedom of expression, get out of your norm, and just sort of celebrate in a way that you may be a little bit less inclined to do when you're in your coat and tie or your regular haircut suit and that sort of thing. So the mask is certainly one way to really allow your spirit to run free on Fat Tuesday so that you're ready to buckle down on Ash Wednesday.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And of course, the beads are what we said. The beads are a trinket. They're just they're something that the crews have been throwing around for many decades. Before that, they probably threw fruit. Coconuts are certainly a popular for certain crews. And early on, maybe they threw nothing. I imagine the late 19th century parades and the early turn of the century parades probably didn't throw things. They were probably just a visual spectacle. So these beads have come into popularity probably over the last 50 years or so. Back when I was a child, of course, all the beads came from Czechoslovakia, and they were all glass beads, hand-strung glass beads. And then Hong Kong started producing all the plastics, and so the plastics became cheap and they were in abundance. Whereas the beads from Czechoslovakia were far and few between. They were kind of a treasure to catch when you can get them. And so now beads are just in abundance. Those plastic beads are everywhere. And after Mardi Gras Day, they fill up our drainage culverts and they become a real problem for the city for drainage.
I bet they do.
But not this year because we didn't host Mardi Gras this year.
Yeah, that was disappointing, but we understand, but it was interesting to see the houses decorated and also all the floats decorated. You could drive by. So instead of the drivers driving the floats, it was all passing the normal people driving past the floats. And I thought that was pretty interesting too, because sometimes you miss out on stuff if you're standing by and you're so caught up with the aspect of the throws that you forget to look at the beauty of the floats. And so it was fun to see the beauty of the floats and just how decorative. When I was living down there, I got invited to ride Sinbad. And that was quite the treat for me. And I know that during Mardi Gras, that one of the big things on floats is there's this whole thing about show me, throw me. You know, the women allegedly lift up their, yes, and
Their
throw. Well,
blouse.
yeah, well, I was riding, yeah, and I was riding with a Missouri Synod pastor and a member of my church. They had invited me to be on the floats. And every time I'd reach down to grab some throws, and I'd come and say, oh, you just missed it. And I said, missed what? Oh, you missed the show. And I'd say, so what? They always give me a hard time. And of course, there was no shows probably going on, but they just loved to give me a hard time because I was that time single, not yet married. But it was so much fun. My father said that New Orleans understood the aspect of celebration and indulgence, and then forgiveness and you know and the Lenten period of giving up and of sacrifice. And he always said he would love to have been a pastor there because he thought New Orleans would have been a wonderful place to be a pastor. And it was. I really enjoyed my time there. But, you know, someone once said that once you've been in New Orleans, you take it with you. And, you know, even though you can never be from New Orleans if you're from outside, born from outside. I was always told that, you know, and I was a Yankee besides. But I will say that my experiences there, and then when we were in Madagascar with you, and everywhere we went after we left New Orleans, and came overseas, everywhere we went, we tried to celebrate Mardi Gras. I mean, everywhere. And
Yes.
but when we did that with you in Madagascar, that was a treat. We'll save that story for another time, because I think that's a story that should be told in its entirety, since we really, it was a great experience, especially with your house and all that you did with it. But I just think it was great. And I realize we've gone over the 15 minutes, but I'm assuming it is recording, so we'll be okay. But is there anything else you'd like to share? We can plan to, what I'm saying is that if people see this, maybe they'll get a flavor for it, just a story of it. And then we can encourage people to consider joining us next Tuesday. What do you think? And then,
Well, you know, I would like to hear from those who join us, what kind of experience or exposures they've had in their lifetime to particularly great cities, you know, that have left a long-lasting impression, because maybe we can learn from each other about places that we haven't lived.
yeah,
Certainly, there's a lot to say about New Orleans, and New Orleans is probably one of the 3 great, unique cities in the United States. There are probably other ones that people would argue about, but in terms of unique culture, New Orleans really has that in spades. For instance, after Hurricane Katrina, the whole face of the city changed again. One more time in its long 300-year history, when so many Hispanics moved into the city to help rebuild following the Hurricane Katrina. And these communities are here to stay. Many of the smaller Catholic churches and several of the larger ones too, now host an English Mass in the morning, and by 11 o'clock they're hosting a Spanish Mass,
right.
because they have to reach the community.
Yep.
And so it's just astonishing. And of course, being a food culture, the number of authentic style restaurants and food carts or food trucks that are featuring Mexican style or Hispanic foods and flavors is just, again, adding a whole new dimension to New Orleans cuisine and the culture in general. It's quite remarkable and quite wonderful.
Well, you know, it's pretty, in one respect, it's like the circle coming back, because of the original you know, settlers. People came in were French, Spanish, you know, along with the native population, and the African American population came in. But you have this return, kind of cyclical, of bringing back cultures that were there at the time, and that itself is I think adds to the flavor. And then you have the music, you know, both jazz and then Creole and Cajun and the whole 9 yards. But I,
So, maybe our listeners will have some great stories about places that they've lived and their experiences that they can share with us. And we can all kind of, visit those places serendipitously or whatever the proper word is, um, as a virtual tourist. I don't know.
I think no, I would agree. That's kind of what I think both of us envision this possibility. So we're not the only ones who are talking the whole time, which is true. But the stories you have too, because you've lived all over the world in your own work, is also, I think, is equal to that. But I do agree. Let's bring in some voices, bring in some conversations, bring in stories, bring in music, whatever might it take. I have a cousin who lives in New Orleans, Sandy Hinderly, teaches at Loyola, head of the music department, and maybe we can get him to pop in and play a little music. We got people like Frank Brightson, who owns Brightson's and Brightson family, who I know, and maybe I can talk them into coming on. Maybe some other chefs who would come on, some other people, other performers, other people that are just down home New Orleanians who share their stories, but also people from other countries that are popping in, that might pop in from Europe, Africa, Asia, Latin America, wherever they're coming from. I think it's a great idea to kind of mesh these cultures, because we are a multicultural world now. I mean, things have changed. We're so ethnically connected. My dad used to say we should celebrate the differences, not discriminate. And we celebrate each other by celebrating what people have to offer in each other's cultures and lives. So I think that'll be fun. This could be a lot of fun, I think, don't you?
It certainly should be. That's right. Let's get a little. You and I can make our own fun forever.
That's right. We can.
Right?
Doggone it, we can.
But this is a little bit of an outreach as well.
It is. It is for all of us.
Yeah.
But well, Peter, should we call it, and then should we put this up on? I want to do one thing, and so people are going to hear this if we post it. I do want to check the recording, because it will record. As long as it looks smooth and clear, let's post this. If not, y'all might have to see us live, but we're thinking next week we will come together live. And then, as Peter said, and some of you as well, if you are out at one of your favorite restaurants and want to, Zoom in with us on Facebook to Zoom and share your story of where you're eating and what you like or what your experiences are, or please do. We want this to be a global experience. This is an opportunity. It just, my oldest brother suggested Bonner's Ferry to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. And the reality is that's just the start of the trip. But the best thing about trips is not just arriving, but it's the distance between and all you get to see and learn. So and Peter
Very nice.
and Andy Hinderly and whoever else is out there, we'll be with you every week for as long as you want us. If people are on, if not, well, we may just have to say, well, that was fun. But there's no harm in trying something new, right? Did you get that?
I did, yes. I was just sending you a quick chat note.
All right. Well, talk to you soon. And thanks again, everybody. God bless.